So one of the last segments I wanted to move into is you've done a lot of, or you've spoken a lot about diversity in STEM. I know you have your a black bot this week. Um, so I just kind of like I wanted to know what do you think are what do you think are like real tangible solutions to getting more diverse candidates into STEM?
That is a great question. And I got a similar question. I was at Cornell a few weeks ago and I got a very similar question and I didn't have a good answer for it, but I just kind of threw out some ideas. So I'm gonna do the same thing here.
Feel free to, yeah.
I think one thing for me is that, like me, I, for example, didn't even know that this was a career option when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school. I wasn't even exposed to that or didn't even think about that option. So I think one thing is having people who look like you that are doing those jobs can kind of give you an idea that, oh yeah, this is something I could see myself doing, down the road. I think also, that kind of ties back to outreach and, I've done a lot of going to, middle schools, high schools, and just giving talks and things like that to, show, oh yeah, there's a Black person doing, science in this field or whatever. I think that's very helpful. And a lot of it is also kind of outside of our, think of science as kind of like it's our own little bubble, kind of, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of the diversity challenges that we have aren't just in science, but it's in, kind of society in general, I would say. So I think a lot of those are, it feels like we can't really do a lot, but I think that if we can focus on like being like a welcoming environment within our own little bubble, then I think that can, eventually spread out and, impact other parts of life also, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And actually, you mentioned that. Yeah. So no, I definitely think having having people to like look up, having people to look up to for like younger scientists is pretty important. Were there any like factors that you think helped you overcome like some of those issues that like you described? Like when you were younger, was there someone that you looked up to when you said like, oh, this person's Black and in science, and like that could be me?
That's a great question. So not one person specifically, I would say. I kind of wish I had more, kind of more of those kind of role model figures when I was a kid, kind of coming up. But I would say, I also mentioned when I was at Cornell, we call them allies, or what they're called. So not just like, a Black scientist to look up to, but someone who will kind of recognize your status as a underrepresented person, and then kind of using their status to kind of help you along, if that makes sense. So I think that, I've had a lot of those, my advisors, my, even my, friend group, being very supportive also. So I would say I have like a famous figure that really got me into this, but people who I knew personally, friends and teachers and advisors and that sort of thing.
Okay, so you're saying it was like a group of people like who like helped you like along your like path, basically.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
sometimes we think of like, science is always collaborative. It's always, for example, like the Nobel Prize, usually it's awarded to like one or two or three people, but you don't see the big network of other people who also kind of went into getting those ideas pushed through. So, science is always going to be collaborative, and there's like an image of like the lone scientist, like in his lab by himself all the time. But I think in today's world, that's not really a full representation. You know, there's always multiple people um, kind of helping you along the way. So
Yeah, no, that image is definitely like not like right, really.
it's
Like
kind of
even
like a
like
movie.
yeah, no, yeah, no. In movies they'll say that, but no. In reality, like even the people who like win big prizes, like the Nobel Prize, like you mentioned, like it'll be like the three like top like researchers in that group, and then there'll be like 60 people behind them who like did all the experiments, like they carried all the experiments, like got like all the materials together. So yeah, no, definitely like it's takes like a huge group of people to make like a small breakthrough. Um, so like, but like, when you talk to like school administrators about their like lack of diversity, um, what like reasons do they give you for like not having as much diversity? Like, are they like, we don't have it because like these things and we could use more of this, or?
Yeah, one thing I get a lot is that you know, I got this when I was at Cornell. We don't get enough applicants who are applying for these things, and so one thing that that also ties back to having role models and not being intimidated. You know, there's this thing, I don't know if you've heard of it, called the imposter syndrome that a lot of scientists have, to where they kind of like feel like they don't belong, or they feel that they aren't qualified for something. So I think getting people, younger people, or early career stages, I should say, kind of getting them over that imposter syndrome is really important. I would say also. So it's especially if you see you know these stereotypical kind of like old white guy scientists, who are professors who are like composing the committees and everything, um, kind of getting over that fear of like not belonging or being an imposter, and um, knowing the value of your ideas and your work, and being able to advocate for yourself sometimes, which is hard to do, especially if you're um, in the early career stage position. You don't have any, or you have very little ability to. It seems like kind of like your fate is determined by these upper level people all the time. So being able to like have the bravery to like advocate for yourself also, which is easier said than done, because like I struggle with it. I think a lot of people struggle with that um, fear of being your own advocate. Sometimes is really important and helpful.
Yeah, no, I think definitely a lot of people in science struggle with that because you'll go into like a meeting with like, as you said, like older people who are really experienced, and they'll be like reviewing, like going over your paper, and you're like, damn, like like these people have been in like the field for like 20 or 30 years. They have like a lot of experience, and like they're, yeah. So no, I can see like how that'd be like a frightening experience. Um,
Exactly.
yeah,
And like
and then
having a thick skin and all that sort of thing, because as you mentioned, like you're going to be in these situations where people have been doing this for 40 years, 50 years, and like um if you're giving a poster, they can make a mean comment, or you get reviews on a paperback that are unnecessarily harsh, or like a grant that doesn't get funded, but then their reasoning seems very illogical, sometimes. So
no, yeah, definitely. It's yeah, I think like there seems to be a lot of like really like harsh feedback loops, where like there's not a lot of like positive like encouragement.
exactly, that's really good. I like the feedback loop is exactly exactly right. Like a lot, it's the positive encouragement can be few and far between, as you mentioned, but then so you have to kind of believe in yourself. Sounds too much like a Disney movie, I think. But kind of that, believing in yourself enough to keep going even when things are getting shaky, or when you might doubt yourself. So